Hello, and welcome to this introduction video on the Data Storytelling Tool. The Data Storytelling Tool is designed to assist anyone that tells stories with data, from managers and auditors to data journalists and scientists. The tool allows you to load your own dataset, perform some simple analysis of it, and then turn that into a report or a story. Let's begin. You can upload any CSV file that you like, or you can view the demo dataset and follow along. Bear in mind that if you use your own dataset, none of your data will leave your computer. For privacy reasons, and to allow you to use sensitive data, all of the processing is done on your own machine. This is the demo dataset. It represents a dataset of government procurement contracts. There are 4 fields: release date, contract type, contract value, and supplier size, and 200 rows of data. You can view example values and, where appropriate, the minimum, maximum values, and a distribution. The tool tries to automatically detect the type of each field. If you'd like to change this manually, you can do so with this drop-down. Here, we select fields that we want to include. For example, if there's an ID field that you don't care about, you can deselect it, like so. By default, all fields are included. If you think there may be a correlation in the data, you can highlight this to the tool here. In this case, I suspect there may be a correlation between contract value and supplier size. Let's also check for one between release date and contract value. If we want to remove a suspected dependency, we can click this button like so. But for now, let's add this back in. With that done, we can move to data analysis. The data analysis section tries to detect some interesting features from the data. Here we can see that, as well as being suggested in the previous step, this pair of variables demonstrates a strong correlation as well as 3 distinct clusters. So, let's include this in our story. We can also see that the dependency we previously suggested doesn't seem to have any clear relationship, so we'll skip this one. If we scroll down, you can see some other features that the system has recommended. I'm going to include this bar chart describing the distribution of contract types. Now we can move on to creating the story itself. Here, we can begin to construct our story. We can give it a title and an author, like so. To add content to the story, click this plus button to add a new story block. The system will recommend what type of block to add. For the first block, it recommends we create an introduction for our story. This block is tagged as an introduction and suggests the type of content that we might want to include. Let's click the next plus button to add another story block. This time the system recommends we present our argument. These will be the key building blocks of our story. We can either create one based on our observations in the previous step, or we can create one from scratch. Let's go with the observations we saw previously. There are 5 main types of story block that we will be using to build our story: claims and questions, charts and visualizations, explanations, facts and evidence, and conclusions. Here's our claim and question. Here we'll state the importance of the data that we've chosen up front, declare that a relationship exists between the variables, in this instance supplier size and contract value, and make a claim based on our data. This is then illustrated by a chart. We can make this relationship even clearer by annotating the chart like so. Double-click on the chart to add an annotation. Click and drag on these sections to resize and move the annotation, and then add a title and label as so. When you're done, click Update, and it will be displayed on the chart. You can then move and resize as needed until you're happy. Once you are, simply press Save. We then provide some background by providing an explanation of the variables, what they are, why they are important, and so on. We then state the facts of the case and state our evidence. This should usually draw directly from the data. Here, the system tries to recommend evidence based on the earlier data analysis steps. We can add as many additional facts as we like, although you should be careful not to overwhelm your audience with a barrage of information. We can also supplement it with explanations as necessary. Lastly, for this section, we add a conclusion. This reaffirms the relationship or claim that we made earlier and underlies its importance. Now if we click the plus button again, we can begin to create a new argument and a new section. Or, because we already have a completed section, we can choose to conclude the entire article like so. We can always go back and add additional claims later, or add our own charts or text. Here, we can add from one of 3 recommended charts, or create a custom chart ourselves. We can also add images. Let's conclude our article with an image representing some big data. Simply click Image, paste in the URL of the image you want to use, and add a caption to assist with accessibility. If you want to remove a story block, simply click this red trash icon to delete it from the story. Finally, we have the option of how we'd like to export this story. We can export it as a full HTML page, or as an embeddable version that you can include in your own pre-existing web page. If you're familiar with JavaScript libraries such as Reveal.js, you can choose to export it as a slideshow style presentation. You can also save this story in a .story format if you'd like to come back and edit it later. Thank you for watching this introduction to the Data Storytelling Tool, which was developed in partnership between Data Stories and They Buy For You. Please visit our website for more information.